And action, and welcome everybody. It is PnP Weekly episode 188. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a product manager in the Microsoft 365 platform areas, and with me as a co-host is...
Hi everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz and I am developer advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
Excellent. In the PnP Weekly, we always talk about the latest on Microsoft 365. We always have have a visitor in the show.
Except when we don't, but otherwise always, yes.
Typically, yes, always. And we always go through the latest news from Microsoft and the community. So kind of a spectrum of what has happened within the last week. Today, we have Karoliina Kettukari. That's a Finnish way of pronouncing that. You can do Karoliina Kettukari even in English. How would you pronounce it, Karoliina's name?
Kettukari?
Kettukari, yes. You need to be strict on those vocals.
Yes, exactly. Know your vowels, know your...
She works as the lead in modern work at Meltlake, and she's really specialized on the Microsoft Teams and the Microsoft 365 adaption. It's like an end-user adaption, change management, and all of that. And we have not yet recorded that as we're doing the intros and articles at this moment, but looking forward on having a discussion on that, because all of the demand for, let's say, even driving adaption and extensibility and understanding opportunities on Microsoft 365 starts from the discussion on, okay, what is it? Why would I care? How would I use it? Well, what can I do with
exactly.
that? So,
and there's also another thing that we are very interested in, and I bet many of you too, is that when you hear us at Microsoft speak, like you will hear us talk about everything that you could achieve with Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365, all up. Going all the way from creating teams to building AI-infused business processes, automating them as.
Ooh, that sounds
On the other hand, the interesting part is, where are we actually now? Where are the customers today? What are they doing? What are they asking for? Right? So are they really on par with what we are announcing?
Yep.
Or are they like one step or two steps back? So that's exactly why we thought, let's invite her and let's have this reality check. Where are we now? Like, what is really hot? What are the customers asking for? Which will hopefully help everybody who listens to the show also frame that and make a better use of everything that is available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there are regional and country level, let's say, differences between that. So typically, as we see how the adaptation goes, we can see that the Netherlands and Scandinavia are adapting things always a bit more advanced first, and then the other countries in Central Europe and then US are following after that. So Karoliina, it lives in Finland, but works also in the Scandinavia area and in the Northern Europe. So it's interesting to see the discussions on that. But without the further ado, right? So let's actually jump.
Without further ado, yeah.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Excellent. So welcome, Karoliina, joining us on super well prepared and scripted PnP Weekly. As we always do. Yes. But good to have you on a show. Let's do a quick recap on you've been in a show like 2 years ago. It's been a while, but what do you actually do? Who are you? What do you do for a living?
I'm Karoliina. I'm from Finland. I don't even try to pronounce my last name, but it's Kettukari. And I'm the modern work lead in a Finnish consultancy company. And basically our team is developing Finnish organizations, teamwork, internal communications, like everything that goes on around Teams, Viva, all of nowadays, of course. SharePoint, Yammer, all those cool things.
Is there something you don't do?
I don't code.
Oh, there you go.
You don't code, yes. But you have somebody in your company who codes if needed,
yes,
right?
Yes. We also have developers in our team.
Yeah. Let's come actually back on that one in a second. So, and then you're also an MVP, right? So
I forgot that one.
Now, what does that mean that you're driving and helping on driving adaption? And what does it mean in a day-to-day life?
Basically, I think I see so much frustration and almost like people being angry and bitter towards technology. And for example, in this Teams call, Waldek had maybe some issues before we started recording. And
that might or might not be true. No evidence there.
No. But basically, I think we want to help people. So we want to help people to discuss smoothly with each other in Teams, of course, to collaborate, to communicate, and do those like basic day-to-day things they are doing to achieve their work goals.
Yeah. And
so where is that coming from? I am going right through. So where is that coming from? Because you mentioned like people are bitter, frustrated, they don't want to change. Where is that coming from?
I think that in our free time, we use so many different applications, solutions, and then we come to work. Our IT usually gives us like this crappy old laptop, and then we have this Windows 10, why isn't working? We have new updates coming all the time, new features coming in Teams all the time, and we have multiple tools for same purposes. So we can send a message in email, Teams, Slack, Yammer, etc. And no one is really guiding us how to use those tools and what are the best possible ways to use those tools as a team together.
Right. And now we're going to eat up all of your business opportunities within your company. What is the top 10 let's say not top 10, 5 or 3 tips on how do you start 20? How do you start opening up those kind of engagements? How does that work? So how do you engage, and what kind of projects are you then opening up with the customers, and are there any tips on which you kind of know that every single customer should be thinking on this and this and this, and this always comes up, and all of that?
Yes, like basically 10 questions at once, but
and one more.
Before you can solve anything, you need to really know what's the problem.
Yeah.
So basically, you're using lots of service design methods to discover the real issues within the organization. And usually the customer comes to us and says that, hey, we need to renew our intranets. So we have this like on-premise SharePoint intranet, and we want to have this cool new modern Viva, whatever. But the issue the customer
that's a new
really
Viva module, by the way. I have to Viva whatever. So that's the new, which we haven't yet. Sorry, Karoliina.
Yeah. So basically, the real challenge with them might be that the information isn't flowing from top down or bottom up. And then we start thinking, what else can we do to help the customers to really communicate better? So it can involve new internet, but it can also involve, for example, training how to use Teams, or creating guidebooks, playbooks for how to use Teams together as a team, or, for example, implementing Viva Engage, aka Yammer.
So so you mentioned that they're coming to you. So by that, you would think that, well, they're at least aware of the issues that they have, or they want to achieve more. To what extent do you see that they're on par with the real issue? Or is it like they're thinking about, we want to do this, and it's like, well, but actually that is your issue, not that thing?
I think it's a bit of both. So a couple of years ago, it was much more technical, like technical focused projects, so much more internet SharePoint projects. But then as time goes by and we had this like small pandemic and stuff, now basically everyone has those technical capabilities. And every organization, for example, in Finland, we already have Teams, we are in the cloud, and we have those licenses. And now it's more about how can we utilize all of those licenses contain and use all those applications and solutions within the huge cost we pay to Microsoft every month.
Yeah, so being more efficient on the increasing the return of investment, because you're basically paying for services which are not necessarily used.
Yeah, being efficient and productive and bringing money to the company.
Yes.
And to what extent are the customers, let's say, thoroughly informed about what are the different things that they could do? Or is it more like an open-ended thing? We're paying for something. We have the feeling that we're not getting the most out of it. Can you help us get more out of it?
Yeah, basically.
Is it one or the other?
I think customers know that they are not utilizing the whole product suite as efficiently as possible. And I think maybe also sometimes comes down to the maturity in the organizations. So basically, we are in the cloud, we are using Teams, but in reality, when we have interviews, when we have workshops, people are using Teams for replacement for Skype. So basically, chatting, meetings, those like super basic functionalities. And when you want to take the usage to a whole another level, you need to know so much more about all those functionalities and what else you can do within Teams. And that takes maybe a different mindset as well.
Right.
So that's like the maturity level of the customer, so to say, in certain level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for things like, like chats and meetings, like that is like, sure, it requires people to change the way they work, because now they can be online all the time. They can meet with folks who aren't next to them. But when you take the next step, and I don't know if that is the next step on your list, but let's say the moment you verge into things like, let's use additional apps to do more things that we do across all of the different things that we use. Let's try to do more of our work inside Teams. When you think about apps, probably the next instant step is, well, we need to involve the IT, the admins, because now we're talking about data access, governance, policy, what these apps are, who installed them. Oh, like it's a kind of worms you open or not, right? Yeah. So how does that go? To what extent, like how big of a leap is it for them to take that step?
I think like issues with governance, and then that many organizations doesn't have any governance model for Power Platform, Power Applications. It's a huge issue. And we have those super excited teams and super like talented people in organizations who would want to take the next step and build applications and, for example, bring integrate their workday to Teams. But then the IT comes down and no, just because no. And then we have to have some like ground things solved first before we can go and develop.
Yeah. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely my question. Because if you think about governance plan, what can we elaborate that a bit? Because it's not like everybody knows what is the governance plan, and it's like, well, no, we bought some Power Apps licenses. What do you mean? What do we now need to pay for? What does it benefit the customer to have a proper plan in place?
I think the benefit is that you don't get lost in the application security part, but I know it's like maybe one of the most boring things for most organizations, because they don't want to, they have both the licenses and they think that, okay, now you can go and use. And then it may be that a couple of years later, they wake up. And for example, with Teams, it usually went that, oh my God, we have like these 10,000 teams in our organization. What do we do now? We have like 500 teams with the name test. And all these could have been avoided if we had the governance plan. And I think it's the same for Power Apps as well.
So avoiding, and that basically governance plan is then saving money in the long run. Is that kind of the case, and reducing the overall costs?
I think, yeah, that's one point of that. But also, I think the security is a huge issue, that we know the owners, we know who can access applications, we know what you can integrate, what you cannot integrate. And that's not my topic. I would want to be a security expert, but I'm not.
That's its own topic for sure. Now, what would be let's come back on the top lists. What would be the kind of any top kind of normal things which come up with most of the customers? So you have the E3. Have you ever considered this, and this? Is there a kind of a typical things which comes up every single time?
I think that one of the most heard comments is just that, oh, I didn't know that you can do everything with Teams. So people are so used to like the chat functionalities, the super basic things. And then when you show that you can, for example, integrate your HR system into Teams, or you can build this automation, or you can, for example, replace your Excel with lists, like super simple things, but they have a huge effect on the team's day-to-day working life.
That's good. That's one.
Lack
I'm
of
going to put you on the spot.
You mentioned lack of awareness.
Yes.
So how? Two things. Like how do you think, or do you know, how do they learn about what they can and cannot do? And is there something that we should do to change that or improve that at Microsoft, or is it more like a partner play, and that is where you come in, like you learn so that they don't have to?
Yeah, I would love that if organizations like normal employees would have time to go and watch TSPN weeklies and all of those videos, because we have like so much material in the internet, but they don't have the time. And two very efficient things are having like internal champions network in your organization, and then the champions can, for example, watch you guys or bring some examples from Microsoft to their own teams. And then the other example are like internal references. So if one team does some cool application or does something that's super powerful, they should already be like announcing it to the whole company.
Yep.
And we can maybe have also applications for that instead of.
So you mean like communicating your wins and learnings? That's like talking to other people.
Yes, talking. I know Finland, not a huge fan of that.
Oh.
This is my thing, so don't come to my territory. So
we've done a thing. That's okay. That's a part of job, right? Like there's nothing to celebrate, nothing to see here. Move on.
Yeah.
I guess we're getting away from that typical Finn stereotype at some point, so it's not that anymore. So, but anyway, so that's actually a good thing. The learnings, the champions network is a good thing. There are some applications which are helping on doing that at the companies as well. What else, is there any kind of other things which always comes to like, hey, like the typical applications? Where are we heading? Is the intranet now heading to Teams as a Viva connection thing? Is the Viva home thing? What are you seeing as a trend?
Maybe
within
let's
the industry?
elaborate that a little. How do you see people work nowadays?
How do you see people work?
Yes. So how do they collaborate? How does
what does the collaboration mean? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's actually
it on
good.
Teams? Is it in browser? Is it on desktop? Is it on laptop? Is it on the go?
It's a mess.
What do you see in practice? Yeah. The workplace index. There you go. What is your workplace?
Work is not a place. It's a mindset.
What do you mean work?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think we can combine Vesa's and Waldek's questions. So one thing that always comes up is the amount of communication tools. And when people work and communicate, they use so many tools for the same purposes. So even if we use Teams, we still send emails. And even if we have Yammer, we may have same kind of groups in Teams as we have in Yammer. And that's causing a lot of trouble and problems for employees, because when I want to communicate about my super cool project, I don't know how. I don't know which channel to use, and then I basically shut up, and then I'm not communicating.
Yep. How would you solve that? What is the kind of how do you get that solved? It's like just keep on communicating. No, centralized communications. Is there some sort of of course, leadership has to be, this is a classical example where leadership has to be in place and leadership needs to be the role model. Any other things and scenarios? How to fix these kind of problems?
You have to have rules. And no, it's also a bit old-fashioned way of thinking that you need to have rules, but rules in a team level. So like team level guidebooks work pretty well. And the team should get together and decide how we are communicating, which applications are we using, where do we store our documents, how do we collaborate on those together. And then, for example, write a page in the internet. And here we have our team guideline. And it's a super simple thing. And yet, actually, not many teams have done it. Yeah,
and that's why we need consultants who are helping on
guilty as charged.
Which also can get super complicated if you're working in multiple teams and all of that stuff. But having that kind of a company level longer direction, for example, on moving communications more on Teams rather than email might be a good thing. So, because at least in my case, sorry.
I would just add that we talked about a bit of the context switching, and I think that's a huge thing nowadays, that we use so many applications and our focus goes from like mobile phone to desktop and Teams and SharePoint and everything else. And if we can utilize Teams as like the hub for teamwork, as you want to say, we can bring those applications and we can bring the internet and we can bring the employee experience, for example, with Viva Insights into Teams. And then we can reduce the context switching and maybe help employees in organizations by utilizing Teams as much as possible.
Yeah. The classic digital dashboard concept, isn't it?
Yeah, like virtual desktop. Yeah, we are there again.
Yes, so some things move circles in the industry always, so which is it's fine. It's part of the trends as well. Now, on those applications, so you mentioned the Viva Insight and Viva. I know that you've been promoting Viva as a whole, as a service, quite a lot as well. How do you see the demand in Scandinavia? I know you're working across the Scandinavia, right? Is there actually interest on the Viva the employee experiences as a Viva thing? Is it a trend? Is it where are we heading with that? So
first of all, like employee experience, I think is a very like rising and new thing into like Microsoft world, technical world, and I love the trend because it makes all of these IT projects more focused on end users and employees. But when we are thinking about the Viva Suite, connections, like basically, if you do an internet, you will use connections. Dashboard like has a lot of promises in the future, but I would love to see more of those adaptive cards and things you can put into dashboards. But then, if you think about like Finland or Scandinavian in general, we do have the language things with Viva Topics. We do have the integration things with Viva Learning, and we have the law HR issues with Viva Insights. So the idea is there, and I'll buy most of the ideas. I think like Viva Suite is really a great topic to product in the future. But at the moment, we still have like some restrictions, some restraints, and that's something we like have to discuss with the customers every day. That what you can use right now, what's useful to you, and what's maybe useful a year or two in the future.
Yeah. Now, on these areas, if there's one thing or two things which Microsoft should be doing without any budget limitations, how can we? You are now the CEO of Microsoft.
You had a magic wand.
Yes.
I love magic wands. I really think that even though, for example, Finland and Sweden or Holland are like small language areas, it would really benefit the users in there if these products could work in other languages as well as in English or Chinese or French. And yes, of course, for example, in Finland, everyone can speak English and most of our organizations are working in English every day, but still bringing your own like translations and bringing your own content with your own language, it adds up a lot to the employee experience.
Yeah. So the multilingual feature should be improved in all up in general. So.
Yeah, I think that's one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that point is big enough already for a one. Yes.
Let's get it fixed.
Yes, if only.
So, there's been always a challenging thing, to be fair, as a American-based company where the language is English. It's always been a difficult thing, even on some people to understand that. Oh, what do you mean Netherlands have 3 official languages or Finland has 2? That's crazy.
Netherlands has only one.
Only one, really?
Yes.
I really thought Belgium have 3. So
yeah.
By law, I think they only have Really? They have 3? I would say
I think it's 3, if I remember. Yeah. Well, we have 2 in Finland.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yes. The same thing in Canada. They have 2. In Switzerland, they have 3. Yes. So like that's a reality for some.
I need to follow up with Belgium. So pretty soon, not opening up Google now, but still, just out of curiosity.
Who has more languages?
And today we can alternately learn about the languages in the PnP Weekly. Now, you've been also an MVP, Karoliina, for a while. Any tips for anybody who's been looking into, hey, that MVP thing? How would I want to be an MVP? Any tips from that side?
I've always thought that you have to find your own thing. And it can be like some application, some tool. It can be coding. It can be Teams adoption. It can be modern work. And when you are like really enthusiastic about the one thing, it shows. And then you can do whatever you want with your enthusiasm.
What have you done with your enthusiasm? So what would be the things what you've been doing? You've been doing presentations, right? In multiple countries.
I mostly like to speak on conferences. So I love the live interaction and like all the online conferences. Yeah, okay, but being like live, seeing people live, and I think that's my thing. I write
as a Finn. What?
Yeah, no, I know, but it's like I'm in a professional context. I'm an introvert and I'm Finnish, but I can present on stage. Yeah, and then when you see me like in a conference, like walking around, and I'm like, no, don't come to talk to me.
I'm not here. You haven't seen me.
I can kind of relate on that quite heavily. So that's pretty much my behavior as well. I don't mind going on the stage and do the presentations and all of that, but then the social awkwardness starts. I immediately want to step back on there, and then we're just Finns. We just
no. You can come and talk to me. I don't mind.
You mean people who are watching or listening, or you're referring to me? I don't know if I'm. So.
all of you.
Exactly.
All 2 of us.
Yeah.
Will you be, by the way, ESBC next week in Copenhagen?
Yes. I actually have 2 presentations in there.
Cool. Do tell.
Yeah, one presentation with my MVP friend Amanda Sterner. We are talking about employee experience and different applications in Teams. And then the other one is like user adoption horror stories, like failures.
Ooh.
Can we have a teaser on one of the horror stories? Maybe.
You have to come and listen to me.
That's fair.
Okay, going to buy a ticket right now. Booking my airfare now. The hotel's already sold. I'm gonna sleep under the bridge. Doesn't matter.
It's pretty cold in Copenhagen right now, so I probably don't want to do that. So,
okay, I will not sleep.
Good. Now you are. So you have the 2 sessions in Copenhagen. Is that then the last thing for this calendar year? We're heading already in December pretty soon.
No, actually, I'm also attending the Festive Tech Calendar. So we are having sessions about Viva goals in there.
So you have gone actually through, so you're kind of a specialist across the whole stack on Viva. Before we close, let's do a quick then question on that one. What would be the most exciting Viva features from your side? So if you think about the Viva, Microsoft Viva, we keep on introducing new modules and new capabilities, but any kind of like, that's really interesting, I want to do that. What are the most exciting things?
At the moment, I really love the AI functionalities in Insights. So basically, if you send an invitation, the Insights say that can this meeting be 45 minutes long? Or if you haven't had a one-on-one with your team member for a couple of weeks, it will say that, do you want to have a meeting with this person? And it will automatically schedule a time that suits both of you. So like all those super simple things that like your personal assistant could do are now automatically available in Viva, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agree on that, especially the fact that you can play the system and you can define your own team. So like for me, I work across many different teams. So like managers from some other team are on my team, so that I know that I need to talk to them. So it's like this is a perfect thing, definitely. Like, hey, you haven't talked to that person for like 2 seconds. Oh, really? I better get going. That is definitely a super tip.
I don't know if people remember or even know the background, but Viva Insights, a lot of the Viva Insights is actually coming from Cortana. Whenever Cortana, the consumer side of Cortana was basically then transformed to be a business focused, and then it had something else as a name at some point, but then it got a bit more integrated on the insights and all of that. So it's actually a lot of that is in the behind of the scenes still, which is actually pretty cool. So
nice.
For a person being on a Mac, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, but I don't. Never experienced Cortana.
Fair point. No, did we have some sort of a did we have some sort of a devices on Cortana? No, we didn't. I guess it's only Amazon thing. So
no, there's Alexa, there's Google, but there was no Microsoft voice device by itself, I think.
Okay, I don't know. I can't remember.
Could you have talked to your band? The Microsoft band?
I don't think so.
Never had one. I don't know.
Cool. I guess that's all we're gonna do on this side. Any last words, Karoliina, Waldek, from the world of adaption, change management?
Do it.
Me, from the world of adoption. Well, I think like for one, I would say do not underestimate the impact it has, right? Because it's so easy to say everybody knows, right? Well, people don't. And every single day, time and again, when the moment you start asking folks like, hey, why do you do this? Why do you do that? You realize people don't know. And then only then you realize how much you assumed that isn't actually the case, because technology often isn't top of mind for everyone. It is for us in tech. For everybody else, well, they have their own work, their own planning, things they want to do. And they don't think about, hey, how could I do it differently? That's not top of mind always, at least, right? So having something in place, like you said, champions, is a massive way to change the game and to improve the way you work, but also get more out of the investments you have already done. So that will be like my thing. Pay attention to adoption. Think about champions. Yeah,
that's actually really good. Yep, Karoliina, feel free.
And I think it's also not like if you are a developer or if you code applications or stuff like that, you need to have the certain level of maturity in organizations so that people realize that, hey, we should do this, or we should build an application for that. And you gain the maturity with user adoption. And that's why it's also super important to think about, even if you are like very technical person.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. What Waldek and both Karoliina, you're both saying that quite often what happens is that we're living in this bubble. So the bubble, which is the team which we work on, comes to be our de facto way of communicating, and the people who are communicating. And then, well, everybody knows these things because everybody watches stuff from Twitter and reads all of the latest blog posts and all of that. No, they don't. Most of the people don't have time for that. They don't have the opportunity, and that's why we kind of. It's so common that we're basically, well, I don't have any special skills. Everybody knows all of the stuff what I know, so therefore I'm not going to communicate. Which no, communication is the key. Sharing information, consistent communications, and if nothing else, even if the customers wouldn't have a championship network or anything, just weekly, hey, did you know? And a few tips and all of that would be a great start. So anything is better than nothing, right? So getting stuff moving on the right direction. Cool. That was a last thoughts on this one, but thank you, Karoliina, on joining. Good discussion. Hopefully, this is your last meeting of the Monday. Hopefully, good. And enjoy the rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you on the Copenhagen.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll jump on the weekly articles right after this. Excellent. Thank you, Karoliina, for that. And one more time, really good discussion and good to catch up as well. We talked about on which episode you were, and now I already forgot about it.
72 or 75, like way back when. Like
so now we're
it feels very much as if it was like 2 months back.
Yeah, true.
But in reality, it was something more like 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We had this small thing called pandemic between and all of that stuff, so.
Still 831st of March 2020. Nothing has changed.
What it is. Now let's go through this week's articles. So scan through the latest news from Microsoft and also from the community, which we could find. And please remember hashtag PnP Weekly in Twitter if you are still in Twitter. We're in Twitter, or in general, share what you're.
LinkedIn,
Yes.
Instagram, Discord, Reddit. A social network near you. The other day we talked about ICQ, and apparently it's still a thing.
Yes, that's true. That is true. Yes. What about Happo Hotel? Is it Happo Hotel? What about that?
Never heard of it.
Okay. Anyway.
Stop looking Greek.
Good. Let's start with a article from the Microsoft Teams blog, which is around introducing sign language view for Teams meeting. I think this is really, really cool. So we get that option of having a sign language view to have a discussion within the Teams as well. So really showing the investments on the inclusiveness, diversity and inclusiveness on this side as well. You're by the way completely frozen, Waldek. Now that's freaking me out.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I am. I just realized that I am. Let me reset my camera. 3, 2, 1.
Move.
Is this better?
Okay.
I need to move. Well, so I re-enable my camera. Now it's dark. I don't know if the video is coming through at all.
No, I have no idea. I'm gonna spotlight you. So this is really good. Now you are asking stop spotlighting. Now you're dark.
Let me see if I can turn on my camera. Settings. Yeah, we are live debugging the camera. Let me see if I can turn it off and on again. Let me see if I can virtual camera. Will that change? Excellent. I cannot change my camera in Teams. Now I cannot even turn it off.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, should we do a quick small pause and you'll reconnect and we'll continue after that?
Yes, let's do that. Maybe that will work better. See you in a second.
Yep.
I cannot leave this call.
I'm gonna kick you out.
Hotel California.
I can't kick you out.
Let me close Teams. All that what it means to be on the cutting edge and trying the latest and Hello and welcome back. Is it working now?
Of course not.
It's not?
I didn't see you actually even leave.
But is it working now? Can you see the video moving?
No, I cannot.
It's working for me just fine. I don't know what to do. Maybe now you need to rejoin.
That's true. That is true. Now I can see you. Stop spotlighting.
Perfect.
I did a spotlighting you. Oh, there you are. Excellent. I guess
all right.
Hopefully works well. But now let's move on to the next article. A bit of a technical challenges there. Anyway, the sign language, super important thing from a DNI perspective. It's super cool to actually have more and more of these investments in the tool as well.
What is DNI?
Diversity and inclusiveness. So making sure that everybody has.
Let's be inclusive of people outside Microsoft who don't know about DNI.
Yes. That is true. Anyway, so the next one was around future of employee learning. Can you talk about what this is all about?
Definitely. So a while back, there was a webinar where we talked about the learning, right? Like how does that work within companies? And in context of the webinar, we used Viva Learning as the platform that allows companies to facilitate learning, tracking that and all of that. So basically, if you are on Microsoft 365, this is a very interesting topic because learning is top of mind for everybody. You want your employees to evolve and learn new things and grow, right? So Viva Learning can help you drive all of that. So if you are on Microsoft 365, definitely check this out because it might help you understand what is available to you and how you could use technology that you have available to drive the idea of learning in your company.
Yep, absolutely. 8 out of 10 employees say that they need additional skills to do their day-to-day work. That's actually quite a lot. So that is actually good. It's constant learning. Now, on the Power Automate side or Power Platform side, and in the specifically Power Automate side, November 2022 update on Power Automate for desktop has new actions and new options available, and specifically new capabilities also on the SharePoint for uploading, deleting files, and all of that stuff. So really, really cool. Constant continuous investments in the Power Automate for desktop as well. It's awesome stuff. Then we had an article around new process advisor template. We talked about this one for quite a lot. So.
Yes, exactly. And it's pretty cool, right? So the idea is, how can you automate business processes that you have, right? And in this case, it's about how can you use AI to actually learn about the process, the way the work is being done, and then translate that into automation. It's a really cool idea. So check out this article to learn more.
Absolutely. Really, really cool stuff. Now, okay, anyway, so on the Power App side, there was an update on the release of modern learning page in Power App. So making it easier for people to find the relevant learning and learning setups for them from the Microsoft Learn. So really, really cool stuff again, making it easy for people to find the free learning materials. And actually, there seems to be a link on the potential paid one as well, because I think LinkedIn articles are paid, but LinkedIn, some of the LinkedIn learning things are paid, or they have money associated in them. Anyway, now we also announced SharePoint Framework 1.16 going GA last Tuesday. That's 15th of November, which is really, really cool. And the key points here are continuous investments. Well, continuous investment all up from the technology, but then enabling SharePoint Framework to be able to have extensibility built for Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Microsoft 365, which is the Office, and Viva and SharePoint. So basically, you can have the same implementation, exactly the same piece of code now running in multiple different hosts, which makes it super, super cost efficient to build those, and you can expose the same application in multiple locations. Excited about this one, Waldek?
Definitely. It's a really cool thing, like from the idea to be able to use your existing skills, the things that you already know, and build apps for your org that allow you to reach more people, right? So that by itself is already cool. So I am really interested to see like how people will use that in practice and what kind of apps will they build.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really cool to see this in practice. Now, we also had an article from Gary Trinder related on building a stock update notification bot. Can you talk about this one, Waldek?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a tutorial that takes you step by step through the process of how you would build a bot using Teams Toolkit and C#, right? So in this side, we'll go to Visual Studio and then kind of go through the steps that you would use to build a bot that communicates with adaptive cards and how you would do it with C#, use some of the things like tunneling, setup, and all of that. So really interesting way. If you know C# and that's the language of your choice to build apps on Microsoft 365, this is really interesting article for you to learn how you can use your existing skills for building apps for teams.
Yep, really, really cool. Absolutely. We also had an article from Srikanth Venkata around app compliance and automation tool for Microsoft 365, which is now in public preview. And this is a tool which basically can be used in your Azure to automatically check app compliance settings and policies against whatever we Microsoft validate whenever your application is being sent for the store. So you can basically know advance on will my store application match all of the requirements and app compliance things and settings and all of that, which will be checked as part of the submission pipeline. So really, really cool tool as well. Then we had a security governance and privacy built into Microsoft Graph Data Connect. What is this? What does it mean?
So first things first, Microsoft Graph Data Connect allows you to export data that you have in Microsoft Graph to export it so that you can do automation on it or you can do analysis on it, right?
Yep.
And a part of this article is the fact that when you extract the data, you might want to obfuscate some of the things like PII, names, usernames, and all of that. And now that is available directly in the tool, right? So you don't need to extract the data and before you access it, do something else. You can do it directly during the export and basically ensure that there is no personal info included in the data set.
really, really cool. And then those are being replaced with a unique identifier, so you can even tie back into the identity without knowing who the identity is, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, so exactly that, right? So you can distinct the different users, but you don't know who they are. So you can say X amount of people do this, but you cannot tell directly person X does that.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is really important across the world, as different countries have different laws around it.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Adam Wojcik had a CLI for Microsoft 365. How cool is that? Permission commands. So basically walking through the different permission commands which we have in the Microsoft 365 and how to take advantage of them. There's quite a lot of actually management settings and what you can take advantage related on the CLI. Now, technically, yes, you can do role inheritance breaks and resets and all of that, but we don't never actually really recommend them in SharePoint because they have a performance impact as well. But every now and then there might be a requirement to do that. So there are tooling and automation in place to make that happen, which is really, really cool.
Well, and also another thing might be to build a script that iterates over all sites and resets that. So if somebody did that in the past, now you can know about it and bring it to the desired state in a way.
Yep. That is true. Absolutely. Really good point as well. Thank you, Waldek, on that. Then we had a Microsoft 365 across app scenarios, Teams app and SPFX. So Marcus Miller, a blog post in the developer community, platform community blog, talks about the differences between a Teams app and an SPFX app.
Yeah, and I think it also ties back into what you said, right? Well, into the fact that you can use SPFX to expose different apps across different, or expose SPFX apps across different apps, right? So you can Outlook, Office, or as it's called now, Microsoft 365 app, right? So also, what kind of apps are there, and which approach you can use for which type of app, depending which target you want to reach, right? So Microsoft 365 is a rich platform with a lot of different ways, different types of apps, different ways to build these apps. And Marcus takes a step to kind of try to explain to you what you can do and which approach you need to do for what.
Yep, absolutely. Great blog post as well, and a good mapping on what's being supported and where and how and all of that. So really, really cool stuff. Thank you, Marcus, on that. Then we had an article from Keith Kryko on what if you would like to build your personal table of contents, a experience, so you can actually design how it's being rendered and how the look and feel of that goes. We do have a table of content web part in SharePoint, but you can actually use the markdown table of content to then define what are you looking into from a presentation perspective, and then how would you actually link to the specific topics within a page. So really cool, kind of an end-user driven or editor-driven blog post explaining tips and tricks on how to make things happen. Thank you for that one. Really, really cool stuff as well. Now, we also had an update from Leon Armstrong from Interlogic company. You're listening?
Yes, I am. Yes. I was like, what are you after? I was like, where are you going with this?
Let me wait and see where he's going with that.
Yeah, so let's see how the story unveils.
So new Microsoft syntax freeform document processing model and syntax model rename. So there's basically a renaming of different syntax models, and then how to make those complex document creation scenarios to work. And really nice blog post, lot of actually information on making things happen. So, but that's a pretty interesting looking chart on how can we do automatic creation of documents, right?
Definitely, especially like how can you extract the data from a document that is just plain text or text, right? And how you can understand that these few words, that is this type of info and that is all of that, right? So how can you extract all the data, the insights from the doc into a form or
another
similar
type
or
of whatever
info.
Yeah, really cool stuff. It is actually mind-blowingly powerful. I think one of the problems with the Microsoft syntaxes nowadays is that it's almost like a too powerful thing, so it's hard to explain on the value of what it's actually providing. But a lot of these blog posts are helping.
It can do anything you want, right? Like regarding to the doc and processing, extracting the data, like whatever you want to do. Is that yes? Yep. It can do that too.
Can I? Yes. Can I? Yes. Can I? Yes. Now, Ganesh Sanap had a really cool blog post as well related on JSON definitions of Microsoft lists.
Exactly. So how you would extend or change list view so that you get the option inline to download a file.
Yeah, this is actually
some
quite
people
clever.
Need, right?
Yeah, that's actually quite clever. So you have that unique download event for the particular file rather than downloading or selecting and then clicking download. That's actually quite nice. Not necessarily that people would use this as such, but from a technology, again, perspective, it opens up an additional set of ideas for sure. So thank you, Ganesh.
Maybe they would. Maybe that's how you want to go about it. Maybe
sure.
You have a requirement around it that you want to be able to do that per file as opposed to select here and then go to the menu. Yep. I don't know. Like you never know.
Yep, absolutely. Now you have the flexibility to do that for sure.
Exactly.
Then we had a blog post from Prasham Sapatra. So Microsoft 365, how to know which license I have assigned, not an admin user. So how would I actually understand what licenses me as a user have and where can I actually see how that actually works? So pretty nice blog post on having those details available as well. Good. Really, very cool stuff. Yep. Now, Peter Wenstra had a new blog post as well.
Around creating multi-user real-time apps and Power Apps. So this, I think, like to me, the way it comes across is very much going towards the direction of collaborative apps. Like multiple people are in an app real time, and when somebody changes something, somebody else should see that change immediately too, so that you can work together, right? And apparently there is something in Power Apps that allows you kind of get into that thinking, building that type of app. So there's really intriguing to see like how does that syncing and updating the app works across real time and users. Yep,
and the power here is basically that you're using the automatic refresh based on the data behind the scenes. So it's kind of a classic JavaScript technique for sure for doing polling rather than just basically always refreshing the data in the UX. Oh, something has happened. Oh, cool. I'll update the things. The video is actually really good. Right. It does explain how it works. So we're adding an item number 5 on the right side, and then adding it, and then after the polling time, it will then all of a sudden, poof, there we go. We have an item 5 on the screen.
All right. So it's not based on kind of like you have in sockets that somebody does something and that's being pushed. It's just basically a timer going in the background. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still, I mean, the end user experience is similar, right? Because like nobody will wait a second. It's like, oh no, it is a little bit late, right? Like to a user, it will come as near real time, right? So I think like from a user perspective, it achieves kind of the same goal, although the tech isn't quite the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I still remember, by the way, as a sidetrack, we talked about that one in the show. I remember one customer deployment where they took down their the whole global intranet because they had a web part which was doing exactly this, but in every 1,000th of a second. So it was polling, is there an update? Is there an update?
Oh,
and then as a few thousand people open up the application, it basically ate up the CPU and the whole system went down. So
and that was still on-prem, right? I guess.
Yeah, that was on-prem.
Online.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yes. If it would be online, it would get throttled as well because before it will take down the farm. So there's no farms, but anyway, whatever they are in online. So be careful about the timings. Do you need to know it every 1,000th of a second, or maybe 1 second, or within 5 seconds updating things? Depends on the scenario.
Exactly.
Mark D. Anderson had an updating user profile properties with the date no year format. So how would I actually set the date without the year format in my user profile? So what are my options to do that? And there's a SBS birthday is the example field in user profile attribute. Something super classic.
And that is also a brutal thing. I recall way back when I had a colleague whose birthday was on February 28th.
There we go.
So in order for him to be able to set the birthday, you would have to know which year was leap year. So you would set the right year, because otherwise it would fail, because there is no February 20 year in 28 in that year.
Of course not. Yes.
And that was really a great example of that. Like, you would just set like any year for everyone else except for him. You had to know the leap year.
That's actually pretty brutal, for sure, but understandable.
Yeah.
So, so is the person then, after like every single 4 years, is the person then a 1 year? So as they're 40, they're actually
plus
10.
plus 4.
So
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, you never became 10. Like, you only were like 4, 8, and 12.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so let's go in here. Daryl and Daniel had an updated Message Center show episode, public preview of Power BI and Microsoft Graph integration being one of the things being mentioned on the show. And then there's quite a few of other new announcements in the roadmap entries, which were updated last week. So really, really cool stuff. Like, what was it? SharePoint tenant URL being general availability. That is now out. Finally, it's been a long-lasting request for such a long time. So good to crawl that out.
Yeah, it was, and it was in preview for quite a long time too. I recall
it was yeah.
doing this, like requesting internally 2 jobs back.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Yeah.
Good. Then a few videos. We had a video from April. Thank you. Good to have April back you on the video show. I missed that one. Around pre-populating the user manager. Now the title is actually going to go away. Where was the title? I lost the title. There we go. No.
Well, it says right there, Power App.
Yeah. No, but the title in the video is different than actually in the anyway. Yeah, but thank you, April, on that one. So basically, how can we have that information pre-populated? Of course, we have an APIs for that, so it's actually cool to get it pre-populated, for example, for a Power Apps rather than asking who is your manager. So it makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Then we had a video from Giuliano De Luca, and this is actually really, really cool. So talking about the SharePoint Pages API in the Microsoft Graph, which is in the beta preview already. So
yeah.
And on the latter part, he's actually showing how to migrate SharePoint page with Power Automate from one site or one tenant to one site to another site, which is actually really cool using those APIs in the Power Automates. And that's actually already demonstrating that API in practice. So really, really cool stuff. Juliana is going to also show or drop by in the community calls within a few weeks to actually show this one in practice, because actually really, really, really powerful stuff for sure. So
yeah.
Then Laura Brochus had the SharePoint Power Hour around SharePoint Pages. Is it SharePoint Power Hour? It's a Power Hour. Is it? I guess it's SharePoint Power Hour.
Not a SharePoint Power Hour. It's just Power Hour.
Power Hour.
It's just Power Hour.
Power Hour. And SharePoint page scheduling and approvals, and how do they work, and how to actually make that happen, and how can you schedule things, and how to enable the scheduling in the library, which is actually a really, really cool feature and super useful in many cases, because then as the scheduling is enabled, you can actually do scheduled publishing of the articles, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, which is very important internally for internal comms. Like, you have an announcement that can be done beyond particular date, right? Or you want to announce something at a given time, right? Like, all of that is you can prep everything ahead of time, and then when the right time is, automatically the article will be live, right? So there's nothing for you. Like, you don't need to have like alert on your phone or in Outlook to go publish the article. No, it will go live by itself.
Actually, really, really cool stuff. Thank you for that and showcasing that. And then the last video from Shane on Power Apps and containers and groups.
Yes, it's about stop making useless groups in Power Apps. Containers for the win, right? So the benefits of using containers over groups and why you would use one over the other. So if you build Power Apps, check it out, because it might help you build Power Apps more efficiently and maintain them more easily over time.
Cool. Absolutely. Thank you, Shane, on that one. And then we'll actually stop sharing and let's see if we can get the video back. No, you're dark. Spotlight. Didn't help.
I can turn off my camera, and I can turn on my camera, and now my camera isn't even going on. So that's going very well.
Should we try to reconnect one more time on the meeting?
Yes, let me do that. Let me do it. I cannot leave the call. Again.
You're stuck with me on this meeting forever.
Is it working now?
Nope.
Nope.
I'll try spotlighting you. Last time this worked. No. I guess that's it. We're gonna do a quick no. There you are. Now I can see you.
Let me bump it a little so you can see better. Yeah, there you go. Yes, it's working. Okay, perfect.
So let's close up. Now that it's working.
On the positive note, now that it's working, let's close up.
Anything interesting this week on your side?
This week there will be a little less traffic from email because the US is off a few days. So there'll be for me basically time to catch up. Like I was out sick 2 weeks back for a whole week. So basically like getting back to the pile of work that I created for myself and trying to catch up on all of that. We're getting, I think that is next to the last week that we have for CLI for Microsoft 365. Towards the end of the month, we're going live with the V6. So we will be doing probably some less work around that. We have some exciting stuff to share there. And other than that, we're working on unveiling something really exciting at ESPC, something that I worked on and something that you will unveil, which is kind of interesting thing.
Yes, that's true. I'm not going to take any credits out of that, but it's good to have something new and special available on ESPC keynotes. Now, on my side, prepping the keynote, obviously, there's quite a lot of community stuff to get done, quite a few videos which we need to get scheduled. But as I said, it's actually quite nice. The evenings look so strange. It's just what's happening. The calendar looks so different.
I don't know. My calendar looks exactly the same, but
yeah, hey. I can imagine. But yeah, in my case, typically it's until 11 p.m. every single day from Monday to Thursday. So because of working twisted hours, not that I'm working from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. So maybe someday, but not typically. But anyway, so we're getting ready for ESPC Copenhagen within the next week. Please be there. There's a lot of people joining us. Looking forward on that show for sure. Be there or be square.
Be there or be square.
Yes, exactly. And thank you, Waldek, helping on the keynote, some of the demos as well. I might actually have one more request for you, but let's talk about that one after.
Oh, perfect. It's going to be really exciting for everybody who's going to attend in person. So there will be no recordings of it, right? Shared with everybody online.
No, not live presentations. I think the keynotes will be recorded and published later.
Okay.
That's been the typical way of what has happened in the past. And on the developer keynote, or it's not developer, it's makers, builders, developers extensibility keynote, which is on Thursday morning. We'll have Emily Mancini, Luisa Fries, Derek Cash-Peterson, and Laura Kokorinen joining me on the stage, which is really cool.
And you exactly. So it's going to be packed. Hour, 50 minutes? How much time do you
50, have? I think it's 15 minutes of 1 hour. So
it's going to be really packed with demos and action, I think. And it will be really cool to see and hear afterwards. I assume that you will be able to share some of the materials afterwards and in different settings and
all of the
and all that. So
demos
it'll be interesting to hear. Yeah. Yep. And I also heard that some other folks will also have some exciting demos around Graph.
Absolutely. I saw Fabian Williams being super stoked about things, what he's been building and doing as well. So it's good to catch up with Fabian on next week as well. But anyway, if you can join us on Copenhagen, please do. That's on starting from 28th, which is the workshop day, and then from Tuesday 29th, Jeff Teeper starts at 9 a.m. I think 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning. 9 a.m. in the morning with the keynote.
And are you? Just to ask for everybody who is there, will there be any, I don't know, get-together, drinks, roundtable for platform people or for people who are interested in platform?
On Tuesday afternoon, there's going to be a SharePoint, AMA and a SharePoint in ESBC. That's apparently 2.5 hours. So that should be a good way of networking and discussing. I think we'll have some ask the experts as well. Not quite sure when and how. Apparently there is, I have a booking on my calendar. So thank you ESBC for organizing that.
Yeah. Apparently I'm supposed to show up.
Somebody wants to, okay. But yeah, so that should be really interesting. And we're trying to do everything in a way that there's enough time for doing networking and discussing rather than just working at the same time, because that's one of the most let's say frustrating things is that if you travel somewhere and then you have so much to do outside of the conference and you don't have any time to actually do networking, that's not fun at all. So
yeah, exactly. Like being there and being available for folks is just as important as being able to, get on stage and share whatever you have to share.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, listening. We'll be back within the PnP week within a week, which, by the way, we need to record that earlier on.
Yeah, exactly, because you won't be around on Monday. You will be traveling, I guess, or maybe not. Maybe you'll be there already. Anyways, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
So that our audience doesn't mean a thing.
Yes, later. Cheers. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.